To Senator Marco Rubio. He joins us from Florida this morning. Senator Rubio, thank you for joining us this morning. Boy, we looked at those clips of you yesterday. You seemed honestly shaken by what you've seen this weekend. How do we get this far?
I think we all need to look at ourselves for a moment and ask ourselves. I think that includes the media, George, to be honest. I mean, if you think about Donald Trump says these outrageous and offensive things, his speeches get covered live by cable networks, wall to wall. I mean, and I know it's good for ratings to have him on people's show. I know he's good for ratings to cover these speeches because of what he might say. But I think the media is responsible for some of this. But I think ultimately the responsibility bears on, look, those protesters in Chicago, a lot of them, I believe, were paid and organized. That wasn't some organic thing. Put that aside for a moment. I think you saw MoveOn.org. I think you saw all these different elements involved. There's a professional industry of protest in Chicago, okay? That doesn't, and they don't have the right to disrupt an event and threaten violence so it doesn't occur. But put that aside for a moment. It's not just a thing in Chicago. Donald Trump, on a regular basis, incites his crowds. He tells them, oh, beat the guy up and I'll pay your legal fees. You have a guy who sucker punches a man at one of his events, is arrested, and upon release says the next time we're going to kill him. No condemnation. You have his campaign manager is accused here in Florida of assaulting a female reporter. Again, no condemnation or sense of responsibility. Last night he repeats this ridiculous story about an American general that dipped bullets in pig's blood and shot a bunch of prisoners who were Muslim. Again, it's like goes off people's back because it's just we've become numb to this outrage. There are people out there that are unbalanced. There are people out there that listen to this stuff and we don't know how they're going to react. And he keeps putting this stuff out there. We're going to have an ugly scene here. We already have seen these ugly scenes. And I think the other point I would make is how we've now reached a point in this country where our political discourse looks like the comment section of a blog, where people can just say whatever they want about anyone without any rules of civility, no norms that govern how we interact with one another. If we've reached a point where we can't debate the proper tax rate, our health care policy, our differences on foreign policy, what the government's role should be in education, without resorting to, you're a bad person, you're an evil person, I can say or do anything I want because I'm angry, we're going to lose our republic, and we're most certainly going to lose our ability to solve problems.
Those are strong words, lose our republic. If that is indeed the case, isn't it more important to stand up to this violence than to stand by your pledge to support the nominee, even if it's Donald Trump?
More important to do so?
To stand up to that violence,
I mean, I think, well, absolutely, we've got to stand up to it. And my point is, I don't know if your question is, do I stick by the pledge or not stick by the pledge? What I said yesterday is, look, I'll be honest with you, it's getting harder every day. It really is. Because while I don't want Hillary Clinton to be president of the United States, I do not. I want her to be defeated. I think we're having a battle to define conservatism in the Republican Party. I do not want the Republican Party or the conservative movement to be defined by what I'm seeing out of Donald Trump's campaign. I know people are angry. I know people are frustrated. But leadership is not about making people even angrier and even more frustrated and asking them to give you power so you can go after another group of people that you want to blame for people's anger and frustration. Real leadership is recognizing people are angry, recognizing people are frustrated, and then showing them a way forward that gives them hope and the belief that we can make things better. That's real leadership. That's not what we're getting from the front runner. This is I don't know how else to describe this election at this point, but, other than it's an important one from a generational perspective, and yet it's turned into a real circus, and now it's turned into something even worse.
I know you hope to be the nominee, but the latest polls show you pretty far behind in Florida right now. Can you really imagine campaigning for Donald Trump this fall if he's the nominee?
Well, first, let me just tell you, on Wednesday morning, some pollsters somewhere are going to have to explain why they're so wrong, not just about Florida, but multiple different places. I mean,
been wrong before, polls, that's for sure.
Everybody. The what?
We've been wrong before, that's for sure.
They've been wrong before. Well, I mean, I'm just telling you, someone's wrong here because, and again, these polls do reflect how voters vote because they see him and they wake up and say, oh, well, he has no chance. But I can just tell you they've been really wrong, and I think in Florida especially, which is a closed primary, I think. But that being said, we're going to win in Florida. You're asking me about that. I think that's a question beyond. I'm one vote in the state of Florida. I think the more important question is, how about the millions and millions of other people around the country who have already said if Donald Trump is the nominee, they're just not voting. They just won't vote. No Republican can win with that many people locked in saying, I'm not going to vote for our nominee. He will lose. If Donald Trump is our nominee, he will lose. He will lose to Hillary Clinton. She will be elected. We'll have 4 more years like the last 8. That will be the consequence of him being nominated.
Will you campaign for him?
Well, again, as I said, I'm not going to change my position today about supporting the nominee because I still believe that Donald Trump will not be the nominee. Despite all this noise that's out there, he needs 60% of the delegates from this point forward in order to be the nominee. Ted Cruz, by the way, needs 75% of the remaining delegates to be the nominee. That's the real math. I, at the end of the day, do not believe that Donald Trump will be our nominee. And I'm going to do everything possible to keep that from happening and to give the party in me someone that people aren't going to have to be asked that question about. If I'm our nominee, no one's going to be asked, will you support the nominee of their president? We'll unite the party, we'll grow it, and we'll win.
Sounds like you're saying we're going to see you in Cleveland. Okay, Senator, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, George.